well. And thank you for joining us. Of course, many of us are here because of a ruling that, of course, occurred this past week. And many people are anxious to know, wow, what does that mean for Creek Freedmen? Congratulations to those of you who can now claim your birthright. But the question has arisen, where does one go from here? I am happy to share with you what this meeting will consist of. It's going to be a short but a busy meeting for sure. I'm going to share my screen very briefly before I turn it over to the speakers. And as you can see, the meeting today, Creek Freedmen, where do we go from here? As I said, my name is Angela Walton-Raji. I am a writer, historian, and genealogist. My background is that from the Choctaw Nation, but I research the freedmen from all of the 5 tribes, and I write about them in terms of the remarkable history and resilience of remarkable people from whom we all come. I want to welcome you all here. Ron Graham is here. He's going to open up the session with an opening prayer. And from that point, we will then turn things over to President Marilyn Vann. Ron Graham, you do have the floor, and you can unmute yourself and open up with a brief prayer. Are you there, Ron? Can you hear me? And you'll have to unmute yourself as well. And I'm not sure if he's here or he may have stepped away. Oh, there he is. Okay, unmute yourself, Ron. We cannot hear you. Please unmute yourself, Ron.
Okay. Okay, y'all hear me now?
Yes, we do. Thank you.
Okay, let's
Thank you.
just bow our heads and Heavenly Father, we come to you, Father, as humble as we can, thanking you and praising you for this moment, this time, Heavenly Father. We just thank you for waking us up, letting us see this brand new sunny day, Heavenly Father. We just thank you for just guiding us and directing us, Heavenly Father. We thank you for what happened about a few days ago. The Creek Nation giving us a citizenship victory in that Supreme Court, Heavenly Father. But we're just here to get an understanding, the knowledge and wisdom, how to what needs to do for us to move forward. And I just want you to thank you. I want to thank you and I want to praise you. We give you the glory, the honor, and all the praises. In Jesus Christ's name I do pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, Ron, for that prayer. At this point, I'm going to turn things over to the president of Descendants of Freedmen Association, Marilyn Vann. Ms. Vann, you do now have the floor.
Well, thank you, Mrs. Walton-Raji. I want to welcome all the attendees that are here. And I want to thank, first of all, I want to thank God for a great Freedmen victory. And of course, a lot went into this. The hard work of the litigants, the attorneys, the fair and wonderful judges. But first, I want to talk just a little bit about our Descendants of Freedmen Association and our sister organization, African Indians Foundation. Descendants of Freedmen Association is a 501c4 corporation fighting for the rights of the freedmen of the 5 tribes, incorporated in 2002. We have supported litigation for various cases, including Cherokees, the Nash and Van case, and Creek cases, including Mr. Graham and Mr. Johnson's case in 2005 tribal court. We've done congressional outreach and support for legislation to affect change for freedmen and upholding of rights. Meetings with federal agencies, both in Oklahoma and Washington, D.C., regarding services, including Indian Health Service for freedmen. Asking for services both for persons not in tribes as well as persons that are in tribes who've had discrimination. Outreach for Indian farmers lawsuits, which did include freedmen who could receive those funds and did. We've organized various demonstrations, worked with other freedmen groups on these demonstrations. We've had genealogy forums. assisted quite a few people in getting registered in various tribes. Get out the vote efforts for tribal elections. Sometimes freedmen have made the difference, and not just necessarily persons. Sometimes the tribes where people are not registered. Freedmen can make the difference, getting your relatives to vote or helping these candidates to support freedmen. So assist us by joining as a member or an official supporter. I know Miss Walton-Raji has, I think her screen is showing some information that that shows more about this organization. Perhaps she can download this also to where people can put this on their own computers. Now, but we encourage you to become a member or an official supporter. We also have a sister organization, which is a 501c3 nonprofit, the African Indians of the Five Civilized Tribes Foundation. The actions and activities are similar, except for we cannot lobby or, of course, formally endorse candidates. But these donations are tax deductible. Again, that information is on the sheet that I think is on your screen. So please, again, support us through your donations. You know, if you help us, we can help you better. Now, just quick. I hope everybody heard me.
Yes,
Okay.
people are still just not muted. Please mute yourselves while the speakers are talking. Thank you. Continue.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Miss Moderator. Mrs. Moderator. Okay, just a quick overview of some news out there. The General Accounting Office has finished their investigation of the Freedmen, which was brought in by Senator Schatz and Senators Murkowski in 2022, and I spoke before the Senate Indian Affairs Committee, Washington, D.C. Their investigation was the treatment of currently registered Freedmen tribal members and federal services, and how to enumerate freedmen.
Hold on a second. I'm sorry. We have someone who needs to be muted. I've got to find who that person is. And I do make sure, ask that you all mute yourselves. Okay, thank you. Continue.
Okay. Continue with the GAO. Also, they were, Miss Walton-Raji was one of the people who assisted on this investigation and the number of freedmen, because I think Congress is looking at that, how many freedmen there are before we open up more services. The report has been sent into the.
Okay, we are getting. Okay, I think I've gotten where the noise was coming from. Thank you. Continue. I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay. Anyway, the report has been sent to the Senate committee. Now, Cherokee Nation, the last election for this year for council has just finished. Mr. Grass won the runoff yesterday. Also, with the Cherokee Nation is heading out efforts to get federal legislation to ensure that tribally registered freedmen are treated the same in court when it comes to criminal law. The Veely law firm is assisting the tribe, and so this is not going to just if it comes to pass, will help persons that are registered in any federal tribe that are freedmen, not just the Cherokees. Choctaw Nation, many of you know, Descendants spearheaded an effort to block tribal constitutional amendments that would make it more difficult for freedmen. Those amendments are not going to be sent to the Department of Interior, partly due to our efforts. Our next Descendants meeting in person is set for August the 23rd, 2025, 1 p.m. at the King Center. Again, that is on the information that is that I believe is there. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. And At this point, let's see, is our representative from the Seminole Nation here? Is Leetta Osborne here by any chance? We would certainly love to hear from her. She is the Seminole chief of the Bruner Band. And of course, as many people know, Seminoles and Creek people are very closely, certainly related historically and many through kinship as well. I don't see Leetta in the room as yet. Perhaps we can have her, or if she comes in a little bit later, to extend her greetings and well wishes when she does come in. At this point, as we look at the agenda, the purpose of this meeting, where do we go from here? We do have someone who's very, very knowledgeable about the structure and many options for citizens in the Creek Nation, Eli Grayson, who is a friend of Freedmen as well. He's an enrolled citizen of the Muskogee Creek Nation. And he is here to really share with you many things about the structure of the nation, also many options. It's not just about having a tribal card, putting in your wallet and walking off into the sunset. Certainly, we're certainly lucky to have him here. Eli, I'm going to open the floor for you. Unmute yourself and please share some of your feelings and thoughts with the group here at the present time. Thank you. Eli, the floor is yours.
Okay. Hi, I'm Eli Grayson. I have a radio show, Africans and Indians Table Talk. I know we're kind of speaking fast because everybody's got stuff to do today. Yeah, so what I want to mention first is that for those people who have filed for Creek citizenship and have been and did receive their denial letters, to call 1-800-482-1979. That is the Creek Nation telephone number. Ask for the Citizenship Department and tell them that you made application, you were denied under the under the stuff of you were being classified as a freedman, and you would like for them to reopen your files for reconsideration. They're going to ask you some questions on the phone, and one would be, is your application current on file? Meaning, did you move? Did you change your address? If you got married, on and on. They're not going to look for you. You have to make this call and make this request because unfortunately, some of our members or some of the freedmen descendants that have filed for Creek citizenship, they passed on in the last few years. And so they're just not going to automatically send out tribal citizenship cards. They need for you to call them and say, hey, I filed for citizenship in the past. I got a denial letter. And so I'm asking you to reopen my files. And what they're going to tell you is just say on the phone, do you want your file reopened? It's going to be a yes or no. You're going to answer yes. That's going to be a recorded call for them to go ahead and look back at your files that you've already submitted. So you don't have to resubmit another application with documents. They've kept that stuff on file if it's been in the last 2 or 3 years. Now, if your file was like 4, 5, 6 years old, they're going to ask you to send in a new application without the documents. And the reason for that is because they cannot use an old signature, old dated signature. They need you to update your signature card because that's going to go on your tribal ID once that's mailed out, unless you actually go into the Creek Nation Citizenship Department. There are 2 offices, one in Okmulgee and one in Jinx. You can go there and have your photo taken so it can be placed on your new tribal ID, and then your signature can go on that. So I'm saying this because we're really focusing on people who have already filed for citizenship and been denied. Unfortunately, for those of you and some of you that are on this Zoom, you haven't filed. And what's going to happen, there's going to be a rush of people, thousands of people try to get their applications in. And the process is going to become a bottlenose type of thing. And it's going to delay some 3 months, some people 6 months, some people may even be a year. So for the people that have already filed for citizenship in the past already, and your application is there, they looked at it, the documents were good, but you just got a denial letter based on being a freedman status, please, please call ASAP as soon as you can. And one of the reasons we're doing this because we kind of know the tribe may file for a federal appeal to overrule this Supreme Court ruling in federal court. So we're trying to get people kind of grandfathered in with their citizenship card so they can register to vote. We got an election coming up this September. And some of those questions on that ballot are constitutional questions. So I'm mainly focusing on the people who've already filed because it's easier to get your card at this point and get you registered to vote within our tribal elections at the same time. So anyway, if there's any questions at the end of this, I'll hang around. But I know everybody's going to be talking about genealogy and helping those people who haven't filled out an application. Also, one other thing, at Vernon Church in Greenwood, we're going to have a stack of citizenship applications available for you on Wednesday for people who don't have a printer to print those applications off. I'm having Kinko's print out 1,000, and we're going to have some there. We're going to find other places. I'm going to reach out to Reverend Rice in Okmulgee to have some of those applications available there for people to stop by and pick them up there. I don't think the citizenship office is going to mail you one. They're going to say, go online and print one off. And unfortunately, not everybody has a printer at home today. So if you can keep in mind, Wednesday at 6 o'clock at Vernon Church on Greenwood, up in North Tulsa, they're going to have some citizenship applications stacked up, ready to be picked up. And we're going to reach out to Reverend Rice. We're going to find somebody in Muskogee to have some available for people in Muskogee, as well as Bowling and other places like that. And if you have any suggestions about your church or some store in your little town that would do this, please text me 918-730-1133 and let me know, and we'll drop some of those applications by there so people can pick them up. Thank you. Thank you, Angela. Thank you, Marilyn.
You're very welcome. Eli, is there anything in particular that you would recommend? For example, you mentioned 2 places, one in Okmulgee, one in Jenks. Is there a difference in terms of the speed in which those applications may be handled by any particular office? Do you have a suggestion?
No, I just, my feeling and what I'm actually hearing, and I know this is being recorded, so I'm being very careful, is that because the ruling went further than just dealing with the Creek Freedmen citizenship. The Supreme Court basically amended our Constitution to remove the word by blood. So the thing about that, there's been a class of Creeks who are more than 1/4 blood that have run the tribe for the last 45 years. And so removing that language from the Constitution jeopardizes them to losing their political positions where they're the only ones in the past that's been able to run for council or chief. Now it's up to everybody, including the freedmen. So they're not just looking at, okay, we can enroll the freedmen, but we could still be in charge of the tribe. They're now looking at the possibility of losing their position as chief and council members and actually control of the tribe. And let's be honest, 1/3 of the Creek Nation, and that would be including myself, are people of African descent. Black Creeks, a third of the tribe currently enrolled. And so when you're talking about bringing another 45,000 freedmen people onto the tribal rolls, you're talking about a tribe that's technically would almost be, you know, out of control by Black folks, if you want to be honest. And they don't
That's
want that. This is
interesting.
the problem
No.
that Clark Cox had back in the 1970s. He
Right.
saw this as one of the issues that was going to happen. There were so many Creek Freedmen descendants that if left in charge or left without rules, they would be running the Creek Nation even up to this day. So my suspicion is that they're going to go either file a separate federal lawsuit in the Northern District or Eastern District of Oklahoma, and they probably already got it prepared, or they're going to join the Graham versus the DOI case that's already in Eastern Oklahoma. I don't think they're going to let this go because it's a challenge to the blood quantum at this point. So, but to your question, I think they're going to go ahead and until there's a federal judge that puts a stay on the Supreme Court ruling, they're going to go ahead and approve a number of the Creek Freedmen citizenship cards. One, the Grayson, Ron Graham, people that have filed and kept up with their stuff. But people who are filing as of today and tomorrow and whatever, you may have to, you know, be patient because they're going to get a flood of things. It took a while for the Cherokee Nation to actually start issuing cards other than Maryland's and others. But the vast majority of people, it worked out over a number of years. And that's what's going to happen with the new applicants as they come in. If they get 1,000 applications tomorrow and 1,000 the next day and 1,000 the following week, and the council has not increased the employment in the citizenship office, you got the same 10 people doing everything with a lot of more work than they had before, because they're just not enrolling Creek Freedmen, they're still enrolling by blood people too. So
there's a question from Grant Perryman. Will they be challenging the blood quantum and the freedmen citizens, or just the blood quantum issue in general then?
They'd probably be doing both. And it's
Really?
very, well, the danger of challenging the Creek Freedmen thing is because you're dealing with Article 2. And quite frankly, there is no mention of Indians in the Creek Treaty. Only freedmen or people of African descent having rights to the tribe. Everybody else is just assumed, okay, the Indians are just going to have rights. The treaty is actually silent on that. But
Wow.
where it came to the people of African descent that were given the rights of the Indians, it specifically said an equal interest in the funds, an equal interest in the soil, you know, and they have the rights of the native citizens. So it's actually Pacific, and it does mention them where it doesn't mention anybody else. So if they challenge it, it may come from two fronts, you know, the freedmen issue and the by blood issue, or they may just lump them together and say that the Supreme Court overreached.
Interesting.
We'll see next week.
Wow. Well, in your opinion, who has the, I don't want to say the greater advantage of having their applications acted upon? Hopefully everybody has an equal chance, but there are those who have applied before, who, you know, maybe they have to update it, but then there are those who are just applying fresh, never have applied before. Are they likely to be sort of put on the back burner? Will there be?
I don't think it's a back burner. I do know the people who have applied already, particularly since the district court ruling a couple of years ago, their applications are going to be on top.
Okay.
Because those are the files they have in hand. It's the bird in hand thing.
Right.
Okay, so everybody else, if you file for your citizenship, don't think you're going to get it in a week. Don't think you're going to get it in a month. It may be 6 months, it may be a year before they can actually process it. Now, I'm going to speak from my own personal experience. When I was enrolled in 1999, it took 2 years.
Wow.
2 years for them to actually got my application. It was my whole family. but by the time the whole process was done, it was 2 years. Of course, they've improved the time tremendously on that if your records are right, you know, down
Right.
to if your records are right, you can get enrolled in 1 day, you know, if you're by blood. But now we're talking about here, the citizenship office is meeting on even how to create these cards. Are they going to be the same as the tribal ID? Are they going to be the same and just not include a blood quantum? Are they going to do what the Seminoles did and brand people with a badge of slavery by saying freedman card with no rights? You know,
Right.
so those things are going to be worked out, and they're probably being talked about through this weekend, actually, about how they're going to go about and do this. There's a bigger problem in all of this, and the freedmen have got to start talking about it, even particularly the Cherokee and Seminole freedmen. Right now, if you get pulled over and get a ticket in Tulsa, if you're a by-blood member, you get to challenge that ticket in tribal court. If you're classified as a freedman descendant, you have to go through Tulsa's courts. You don't get to use the tribal courts. So that is a big issue that still the freedmen of all 5 tribes are going to have to deal with. I will say, if you read in this Supreme Court ruling, the Supreme Court did define the word Indian as it relate to Muskogee Creek Indians. It include by blood and freedmen descendants both.
Mm.
So
And-
once you are enrolled as a citizen of the Creek Nation, though your ancestors were classified as freedmen, according to the Supreme Court of the Muskogee Creek Nation, you are now an Indian.
Mhm.
So
What do you think about a person who physically takes their application and hands it in? Is that person still basically going to be treated the same as if it was sent in by mail?
no, they're going to get preference. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They're going to get preference because the person at the table, at the desk, the reception desk is going to open up and look at what you're presenting, and they're going to tell you right on the spot if you're kind of missing something.
Okay.
And then they would take that application in and give it to someone who's going to assign it to a caseworker that's going to review your file. Now,
Okay.
mailing thing is mailed to a P.O. box. It's probably picked up once a week, you know, and then that person gets it and have to go through the mail. And if it's
Right.
1,000 envelopes, you know,
It'll
then
be a while.
right. So if you walk it in yourself, which is if you're in the reservation, please don't put it in the mail. Go down there and turn it in.
Mm.
Go down there and specifically turn it in, you know. And at some point they may even just copy your birth certificate. They put their little stamp on it to say that it was received in the office, and they give you that stuff right back. So you get to take your social security card back, your birth certificate back, the death certificates, all those files that you sent. They'll make a copy of it right there on the spot. Also, if you walk it in, they'll also go ahead and take your photo if they use it or not.
Okay.
So
Okay.
when you do get your tribal ID in the mail, it'll have your photo on it. And let me tell you the really important thing about a tribal ID in the Creek Nation. There are 2 types of IDs in the Creek Nation. One is called a tribal ID, and the other one is called a enhanced tribal ID. It's 2 different cards. One is the regular basic citizenship card. Now, with that ID, once you get it, you can go to the pharmacy, you can use it at your bank. You can use it on domestic flights instead of your driver's license because it's all approved by Homeland Security. It's considered a federal ID. Now, the enhanced tribal ID is almost a passport. I have one. I can go to Canada. I can go to Mexico with it. I can go on any boat to the Caribbeans, to Brazil, wherever I want to go in the Western Hemisphere, I can use that enhanced ID. The difference, though, with the enhanced ID, you get a special interview, and it's an interview basically by an employee in the citizenship office who's been certified by Homeland Security to ask you about 20 questions about your life to prove who you are. And it's stuff like when you were 15 years old, that you live at such and such address, A, B, C, D, E, or F. Which one is it? And they'll go through it. Did you work at such and such place in 1980? All these different questions to prove. And that particular ID is very different than the basic tribal ID, which is just a citizenship card.
Okay, that's helpful. Well, there are a couple of questions for you. Stevan Nave has posted a question, and he said, quote, I sent a copy of the 2022 denial letter, updated address form, and photo ID to the email address citizenship@mcncitizenship.com based on a Facebook post by the Muskogee Creek Freedmen Indian Band. So based on this recommendation, I guess based on your recommendation, would it be better to call to request a reactivation of the application?
You could do either or. Calling is just as good, because if they have everything updated in your file, and what they're going to do on the phone is ask you a series of questions, your name, your birthday. They're just going to confirm what they're looking at on their screen. So if you don't have the ability to send all that stuff in, and that you've already done it before and you got a denial letter, a phone call would do. And they're going to get you voice approved, where they record it on their computer that you approve them opening up your file. It's just as good.
So, okay, so that's good to know then, that they still have you on file, even if you were denied then.
Oh, yeah. They've not thrown those records away. Yeah.
Okay, that's really good to know.
Yeah.
That.
Now, if you filed 10 years ago, no, your stuff has been thrown out.
Okay.
You know, so we're talking about people mainly who filed since that Supreme Court ruling, and right before the ruling, you know, just in the last maybe 3 years at the most. If you filed earlier than that, you may have to submit you're going to have to call and ask them to look you up on their computer, and they'll tell you on their computer if they still have all those documents on record. If they don't, then you're going to have to start again.
Okay, that's good. That's very useful information. Monica Bailey says, quote, I took my application and updated records Wednesday for adjudication. Yes, the clerk will scan your records, electronic signature, take your photo, and return your records right then. Well, that's good to know that you do get your records back. I guess especially that's good to know. Question from Benny Denson IV. Will the Supreme Court ruling identifying Indian by both blood and freedmen, does that include same instructions towards federal courts concerning the Major Crimes Act? I guess they're talking about the McGirt decision.
Yeah, the major. Well, we're hoping it would help. You know, so right now, and Marilyn can come back and talk about this later, but she was on my show this past Tuesday talking about that. The Cherokees are currently trying to write an amendment to the Major Crimes Act that would include the freedmen, to include the wording that the freedmen are Indian too, as simple as that. I'm saying that our Creek Nation Supreme Court has already done it.
Okay.
They have done it in this ruling. So submitting stuff like this to the federal courts in Oklahoma, as well as the state court, and it's the state courts that are trying to say everybody but the Black folk in these tribes, you know.
Right.
So maybe submitting to a state judge said, no, the Muskogee Creek Nation says all of its citizens are Indians, whether they're freedmen or by blood. So your argument to say that it's the Major Crime, and here's the thing, the Major Crimes Act was silent on the freedmen. They didn't say anything about it. And then, as you know, as a historian, Angela, the tribes prosecuted as Black folks that got out of line up until statehood.
Interesting. Wow. Another question, Wilda Alcox wants to know, if you're not local to Oklahoma, are there any stipulations or requirements that must be met other than ensuring your information is correct, or basically proving lineal descent to
Yeah,
someone.
same thing.
Okay, so basically there's no distinction there.
Yeah, the only difference would be after you were enrolled, you're considered a at-large citizen.
Right.
And you're restricted to only certain benefits. There are certain benefits that people get living in a reservation that are paid for by the federal government. If you live outside the Creek Reservation, the feds don't pay out on stuff. If you
Okay.
live in but they do, the tribe does use its tribal funds to kind of manage those services and stuff for at-large citizens. But as far as the application is concerned, it's the same. And please, once you get your citizenship ID, register to vote the same day.
Good advice. Very good advice. And Shelley wants to know, is the enhanced tribal card better than getting clear? Now, I can answer that because I have clear. Clear is just to get you through security a little bit, get to the security stop at the airport. That is not,
Not
you
the
know,
same thing.
it's
Yeah.
not the same thing at all. So she also says, I have known the traveler number and the real ID, but when I receive my tribal card, will I then request the enhanced tribal card? In other words, I
Yeah.
guess, how do you get it?
Well, so you're going to have to make an appointment. You're going to have to make an appointment with the city. You have to go in person for these cards. And occasionally the Creek Nation would go to LA, they'll go to Chicago, they'll go to Dallas, and their citizenship office is there. In DC, they'll go there and the citizenship office would interview people who made appointments, because the interview takes about 30 minutes. And so if 50 people show up, you see how long that is, and only one person has been assigned to interview anybody. And so you have to call, make an appointment, make sure you show up for that appointment because they probably won't give you another one. So, and that's the difference. You just can't request it over the phone. You can request an appointment over the phone, but you have to be in person for the interview.
That's good advice. Janetta Jones has asked, if you mail in the original documents, do they send the originals back? I think you addressed that a little bit, but
They do.
They do send it back. And I know many people like, this is my only official birth certificate. Oh my God, but it's good to know they do send it back to you. And she goes on to say, I ask because I work at the airport and have everything except for my tribal card. I've shown up personally and will continue. Thank you for the information. So
yeah, she just reminded me of something. Once you get your tribal ID, inform your employee that you are a citizen of the Creek Nation, because there is some benefits for companies that have Indian and the freedmen or now Indians employees, and their insurance are kind of less, and don't forget, in Maryland, I probably come back and bring this up. Once you get that tribal ID, and if you live here in the Creek Nation, please go down to the health centers, the Creek Nation Hospital, the Cherokee Nation hospitals, all these tribal hospitals, and open up a tribal health chart for yourself.
Very
and
good.
If you got kids, do it right away. Do not wait. Make sure you want to get that grandfathered in, just in
those in
case
the
there's
Creek
a
Nation,
challenge.
where do they go, Eli? Where's the place to go?
Well, I'm Creek, but I don't use the Creek Nation Health System. I use the Cherokee Nation Health System. And so you can go to Telequap if you're going to do that at W.W. Hastings. You can go to the Claremore Hospital that the Cherokee Nation now owns. They have a facility in Muskogee. Now, if you're going to do the Creek Nation, there's one called the Council Oak here in Tulsa. You can go down to the Okmulgee Indian Hospital there. You can go to the one in Okemah. But wherever you go, make sure you take your tribal ID and your driver's license and all of that stuff, your personal ID, and open up a chart. Even if you're not sick, do it anyway.
So you're not restricted by your tribal affiliation. A Creek does not have to go to a Creek medical facility. Okay, that's good to know.
Not at all.
Okay.
May I say something real quickly? about this here. There's
Sure.
also urban Indian clinics, like for instance, say in Oklahoma City, or
Los
places like
Angeles.
Los Angeles, San Francisco, where you can go and get treatment, and even clinics outside of the five tribes. The absentee Shawnee Clinic, for instance, the Citizen Potawatomi, even before the Seminole letter, which was close to the Cherokee letter that said that the freedmen had to be treated. And we're going to be sure, we're going to try to work on the Creek Freedmen getting a letter here from Indian Health Service just in case they have problems. But you can go to some of these other places. You'll be treated nice. You won't be turned away if you go to some of these clinics. You might not be treated as well if you go to the Seminole Clinic in Wewoka, to the IHS Clinic in Wewoka. Seminole Freedmen have had some problems there. Just a heads up.
That's very useful, and that's very good information to have. And I think many people, will be able to get things done faster just with that piece of information.
Okay, can I
There's
add
another-
one thing to that,
Okay,
Angela, before you go to the
sure.
next question?
Okay.
Also, once you get your tribal ID, go on the Muskogee Creek Nation employment website, as well as the Cherokee Nation, whatever, because you're now going to be classified as an Indian. And if you see jobs that fit you or your kids or your first cousin enrolled, whatever, let them know. We need to get people that are freedmen descendants employed in these tribal offices. That helps tremendously in moving forward the freedmen from, the bottom to at least halfway up at this point.
Very good. That's really useful to know. A question from Wilda Alcox. Do the benefits for being Creek apply everywhere, work, etc.? Maybe you can address that. I'm not sure exactly in terms of other places where, I guess any place where a tribal card could be a benefit. Could you address that a little bit?
Yeah, you need to tell your employee, your corporation, whoever you're working for, that you are a tribal member. And there's some discounted rates on your health costs that they supposed to apply. Now, that's going to be only really if you kind of are living in a reservation or area where there's an IHS clinic or Indian healthcare clinic. There's some states that just don't have that, But there are some benefits that, like do I pay through the nose with Blue Cross Blue Shield? I do get the Indian discount for having that insurance or being a tribal member. And so things like that, you kind of keep in mind, because one thing that's going to come up too is Indian housing. The fact that you're now going to be applicable for Indian housing, as well as the 187 grants, which is like 25 grand toward the down payment of a house, those things like that. Those are the things that the freedmen are going to have to gather in the long run and talk about all. Matter of fact, I sent the chief a really nice letter. Believe me, I wrote one, basically encouraging him to not follow the Seminoles, to follow the Cherokees on
Very
this,
good.
and open up the Creek Nation River Spirit Casino in our beautiful, event center, and actually have a day or weekend that the different agencies and departments that make up the Muskogee Creek Nation have their little tables out, and the freedmen descendants can come through there, get information, sit down, talk to people, all of that, from citizenship to housing to healthcare to childcare, because we're now talking about daycare for kids too.
Wow.
So all of these different, and there are so many, even if you wanted to work for the Light Horse Police, there's so many different departments that you got to educate yourself on in the different agencies and the independent agencies, as well as the colleges.
About the Creek Nation.
Okay, someone has to mute themselves, please. Thank you. I think
So-
it's Marilyn. No, it's
So-
someone else.
Hopefully, Chief Hill would do the right thing and do this and do it fast, and become more inclusive than exclusive. But again, I go back, I don't know if they're really worried about the freedmen at this much point, as well as losing that 1/4 blood quantum thing for running for chief. That's a whole different issue, but that got tied up in this case. So,
wow. Another question, Caritha. Hello, Caritha. I happen to know you. Question, as a Cherokee freedman and you have Cherokee citizenship, can you switch tribal roles? Now I see that as part of two parts. One, dual citizenship, or can you switch? Can you address that?
Yeah, so the Cherokee Nation does allow dual citizenship. However, the Creek Nation does not. And if you rescind your membership at the Cherokee Nation, and then you get in the Creek Nation, and then the shit hits the fan again, on and on and on, then you can't go back to the Cherokee Nation. So you got to remember, it's the same thing in the Creek Nation. I'm in Road Creek. What if I want to go in Road Seminole or Choctaw? If I rescind my citizenship, I can't come back to the tribe. So before you do that, I want you to consider several things. One, do you live in the Cherokee Nation? Or do you live in the Creek Nation? If you live in the Creek Nation as a Cherokee citizen, then you're considered a at-large Cherokee. You might as well live in California. So just kind of remember, think about it before you do it, because you may end up losing more of the benefits that you have as a Cherokee citizen right now. So.
Wow, that's very good advice, though. And people really need to think about that before making a quick switch.
Yeah.
A question from Janetta. Where is the Creek Nation Reservation in Oklahoma? That's an interesting question.
Lord have mercy. Okay. We love you, girl, but you're going to have to, if you're going to get in this, you're going to have to pick up some books, get on Angela's website, learn this stuff, because this is the stuff that they use against Black folks. They use that, or they don't know. They don't know about tradition. They don't know about this. And you feel bad in one sense by not knowing. The reality is they have to learn too. So learn where the Creek Reservation is in the east central part of the state. It's south of Tulsa. It includes Okemah, Okmulgee, Muskogee. If you can just get on the map and look in that area, or Google Muskogee, Muscogee, Creek Nation Reservation map. It'll show you the map. It'll show you Okmulgee as the capital of it. It'll show you Tulsa as the far north part of the reservation. So, but you need to say something right here, Angela, about people. Okay, don't just get your citizenship card. Know your ancestry.
Absolutely.
Know your history. Go ahead, girl.
Well, that's something that I preach about in a lot of my presentations and classes. It's really essential. It's not about just a benefit, and I think Eli made a particular point. That's where they're going to get you. That's where they're going to criticize you. That's where they're going to say, these people know nothing about who we are, but they just want to come and take. No, the history is a very rich one. And I typed to the screen, maybe a bit humorously, but I'm always serious. Google is your friend. You can find a lot of answers to questions simply with a Google search. You can ask any kind of question you want to ask, but it's not just geographically, where are the lines? There's a place in Tulsa. You cross the street, you're in the Cherokee Nation. Go back to the other side, you're in the Creek Nation. And you want to, as a scholar of freedmen history once pointed out to several of us, learn your history and the facts better than they know it. There are people who are lifelong citizens of the five nations. The five, as my friend Terry might say, the five slaveholding tribes have no idea slavery ever occurred in Indian territory. And it's something that you need to be able to know, oh, well, listen, not just can I prove who my great-grandparents were and, oh, they have a roll number. It's beyond that. It's a bigger story than that. This is your birthright, but you need to know a few facts about your birthright, how you got there, when you got there, and what your folks did. The freedmen have a tremendous history in the Muskogee Creek Nation. And were traveling with delegations to Washington in the 1800s and have really done a lot in terms, they received land allotments. They received the same size land allotments as other citizens did. And where is the Creek Nation Reservation today? Where are the lines? Where's the, what do they call it? The line of demarcation. Where is it? You can find that information, not just with a Google search, but with multiple sites. So it is important that we do this. Someone made a reference to Oklahoma tourism. Be careful sometimes with the tourism because there are some errors. And I know they had a map a few years ago that had all the Black towns, but they included 3 tribal towns, which were not residential towns. These were districts, political districts, and not towns where you go to sleep and where your house is. So don't depend on tourism office to give you your history. Your history is there, it's well documented. Connect with other people who are researching the history and beware of false history. There are people out there saying, you know, we were here 10,000 years before Columbus. Be careful, be careful, be careful. But get your history from historians, from researchers, and from the documents that your ancestors have left. I'll stop preaching and go back to another question. Someone asked a question does, and I think this is a very valid question, does enrollment eligibility apply to spouse and stepchildren? Do you want to address that, Eli?
No. Just simple no.
It's lineal descent of the person.
Right. No.
Not their friends, not their spouses, unless that spouse is a lineal descendant.
Right.
And can also document him or herself. Stepchildren, obviously someone's bringing children into a marriage. That would not apply. Unless those stepchildren had another parent. And also.
So, an example of it, you have people in a family where you have a mom and she's got 4 kids and 2 kids about a different man than the other 2 kids. And one of the men happened to be Creek and the other one not. Well, you got 2 kids in the household that's enrolled Creek and the other 2 kids are not. So yeah, they do not enroll people that don't have ancestry on the Dawes rolls.
Right.
Okay.
That is something.
Yeah. So
I also recommend anything by Daniel Littlefield. I think I misspelled his last name, Littlefield, Field, it should be. But by all means, it is important. It is our history. I can't tell you whose picture should be on your wall. You can't tell me whose picture should be on my wall. But it's my responsibility to put whosever picture is important to me on my wall. Likewise, it's important for you. Therefore,
can I say something about that ruling?
Sure.
And the judges on it. And I think it's important for you guys to know that one of the Supreme Court justices happened to be someone that we know as Miko Thompson. Miko in the Creek Nation means chief, by the way. And Miko Thompson is the real chief of the Creek Nation. He's the traditional chief. He's been chief, I think, since he was 17 years old. He's the Miko of Hickory Ground, which is the real capital of the Creek Nation. Now, he is the most respected individual in the Creek Nation. Miko Thompson is. And if you look at that opinion from the Supreme Court, Miko Thompson is on the Supreme Court. He wasn't a dissenter. He signed that. So when you got people saying, oh, well, they shouldn't have done this, you could say, well, the real traditional chief of the Creek Nation, the most respected person in our tribe, signed off on that opinion. His signature is right there. And that should end a lot of that conversation about these so-called traditional Indians not wanting to deal with Black folks in the tribe. Well, the one person that they respect the most signed off on it and agreed to the opinion. You gotta, I can't tell you how big that is. Had Miko Thompson descended, we probably would have a big problem at the tribe. But the fact that all 5 justices that heard this case affirmed it, all 5 of them did. And Miko Thompson, though he wasn't the Chief Justice, that's Andrew Adams, Miko Thompson was the most important one on there to get a signature from. And he actually did it. Now, mind you, this is back to learning Creek history. everybody on here that's a Creek Freedman descendant need to know who Jesse Franklin was. First black man to serve on the Supreme Court in the United States happened to be a black man serving on the Creek Nation Supreme Court from 1878 to 1884, Jesse Franklin. This is part of why learning your history is important, learning what a reservation is important. You know, but all these stories we got, you know, better than them. And I think Maryland, somebody said this years ago, when you become a citizen of these tribes, that Indian that could be a full blood don't have to know nothing. He's got a CDIB card that says full blood, and they don't have to know nothing. But you got to know as much as you possibly can,
Yes.
because your citizenship has always been a football since 1866, a political football. Back
Absolutely.
and forth, back and forth. So anyway, is there any other?
Yeah, another person has asked a question. What if the person listed on the DAWs is listed by a nickname rather than a birth name? Or they're saying that a person is not, I guess, a citizen. How do I clear this up? Now, that's more of a genealogical
That's
question.
going to get back to the genealogy and
Yeah.
application.
Yes.
And Ron Graham, I think, is going to be coming on talking about how to fill out applications.
Yes.
And-
Is Ron back? I know he had to step away for a few minutes. Are
But
you back?
one
Okay,
of
he
the-
is.
One of the things that I want to ask Ron to us, because 10 people have asked me about this already, who've already submitted applications over the last year or two, but they had a letter wrong on their birth certificate and their parents' birth certificate, and the tribe won't accept it. It's an E or I. It's something really superficial, but there are ways to get around that and ways to amend that. There's ways to get delayed birth certificates. There are ways to get amended birth certificates.
Amended, yes.
My own father, who I'm enrolled through, never had a birth certificate. And so when I got enrolled, I had to go down to the, fly into the state of Oklahoma to Vitals and sit there with a bunch of high school records and kid records and testimonies and all this to prove who he was and that he was actually born. And the state of Oklahoma issued him a delayed birth certificate. So, and he got that when he was, I think, like 70 years old or something. That's how long ago it's being.
Wow. That's
So,
interesting.
yeah.
Terry's asked a question. If the Muskogee Nation challenges the ruling by the Supreme Court and takes it to a U.S. federal court, could that jeopardize tribal sovereignty? That's an interesting question.
Yeah, they have to waive their tribal sovereignty to take this to court. And this has been one of the delays that they didn't do it on Thursday, by the way. They have to weigh this very carefully, that if they take this to court, then they're subject to many different things, ex parte young individuals being subject, but the tribe itself waives, and Marilyn can tell you about what happened in her case. The Cherokee Nation waived their sovereignty to go argue, we have a right to put out the black folk, you know? And the mantra of the Creek Freedmen should be what the court said. Congress, and this is what they said, and I'm not gonna offend anybody because Negro is on my birth certificate, so I use it a lot. Congress never gave the Creek Nation the right to kick out Negroes, period. And that's what the judgment says. Congress never gave permission to do it. It's not in writing, not from 1866 to 2025. You got to realize that Congress has a say on this, not some Indian down sitting at their computer in Okemah. They don't get a say in this. Only Congress has a right to put you out of the tribe. And the court was very clear on that. The chief doesn't have a right to put you out. Congress collectively can pass something to put you out, but they're not going to do it.
Interesting. Very good point. Preston would like to know, any idea why Judge McNack recused himself?
We don't know. They kept the two judges that recused themselves and not go on record. They just have a right to recuse themselves. Why? I don't know, but I do know a lot of McNacks that are freedmen, you know, so I have no idea, you know, the bottom line is, I rarely, you know, the Creek Nation has a population of 107, 8, 9,000. we have maybe 400 full bloods.
Wow.
Okay, so everybody else is mixed with something,
Hmm.
and not
There,
everybody's mixed with white.
there you go.
Okay,
Interesting. Wow.
so I don't know why they, but I'm glad they did.
Wow.
So, but quite frankly, if it was one judge that heard that case, that would have been enough. So, and that's just what our tribal law is. It didn't take all of them to rule on this, but we got 5, and we got the most important person to actually give his signature, and that's Miko Thompson.
Very good.
And if you Googling anything today, Google Miko Thompson of Hickory Ground. There's been so many documentaries about his life. This guy is a hero at this point to the Creek Freedmen.
Very good. That's good to know. Thank you, Eli. We're at the 5 o'clock, 5 o'clock Eastern time, 4 o'clock Central. We still have a genealogy portion. Ron Graham, I know he had to step away. Is he back? Ron, are you back with us? Because
Yes,
I know.
I'm back.
Okay, you have some genealogical advice for people to share?
Yes. Thank you guys for sticking around. Also, Merlin, Eli, Angela, that's been great. Great information, Eli. Yeah, on your submitting your application, your genealogy has to be what I say perfect. Okay, you gotta have if you have your grandfather on the rolls, of course you would have to have your birth certificate. If your mother or father is still living, you need uh their death certificate. Sometimes you may have to get that birth certificate also. All right. Then when you get to that person who is on the roll, of course you can have their death certificate. They may not have a birth certificate. What I had done 30 years ago, probably 40 years ago, is that they had required me to have a state certified birth certificate for my dad. But my dad was born in 1902. So what I had to do is go get a delayed birth certificate. And I did achieve that. I submitted that birth certificate. And but still yet, I needed another supporting document, such as a social security numerate, okay, which is an excellent document on yourself or your ancestry, okay. But when you get doing your genealogy, all you have to do is go as far back as someone who was born in 1906 or further. They should be listed on the rolls. Okay, they should be listed. If not, there's something problematic happen why they're not listed. Now, if you can go a step back to their parents may be listed, but if there's still a lot of question there, why is this person did not get a roll number? Okay, uh, but the documentation is crucial. It is birth, death certificates. You may need a marriage license for your if you're a lady, and the name change for anyone, any name change, you're going to need documentation of why and how it was changed. Okay, so that's about it right there. But what can you?
A question, Ron. I know some people have come into some of the genealogy sessions that I occasionally host, and people will say, "Oh, yes, my ancestors were on card number 4586," and then they'll look at the card, and they're 2, if not 3 generations. You may have the head of the house, the wife and children, but one of the children is now married, so now you have a grandchild's also on the card, and many people will ask, well, okay, now I can't get anything that's going to show great grandpa, who's the head of the house. But the fact is that their grandfather, who's one of the children, is as far as they have to go. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Can
you
you
go to
address?
that nearest. You go to that nearest direct grandparent that is on the census.
So they don't
So-
have to go and prove that they descend now from the mother and the father, and then of course the great grandfather. If grandpa was a child at 6 years old on that card, and there are 2 other generations ahead, they only have to prove their connection to that youngest person on the card. Is that correct?
Totally correct. Yes, I
Okay.
totally agree with that. So,
Okay.
Because some people want to go back to 1870 or something.
Right.
The
Let me make a
rolls
point.
are between 1898 and 1906. They were reopened in 1914 by Congress, but only for a short period. Okay, and when they reopened it in 1914, it was dealing with the matters that was at hand before they closed it in 1906.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I make
be-
a point,
Yes.
Angela? This is very important. Okay, so if you get enrolled yourself, once you get enrolled, just remember that the next person in your generation don't have to go back to 1906.
Yes.
The way our citizenship office work, they
Yeah.
would just pull your file and look at it and then enroll your descendant instead of going back to 1906. But when you first try to get enrolled, everybody's got to go back to 1906. Okay, but for now, once you get that, then just kind of remember 10 years from now, you got a couple of more grandkids. They're only going to look at their parent or you to get enrolled. They're not going to go back.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
good advice. That's very, very
Yes.
good advice. In other words, if you're enrolled now, the others in your family, children, grandchildren, have to prove their connection to you and
Yes.
not to the great
Yes.
great. That is very useful to know. There's another question. A person has asked, my great grandfather, and dad have the same name with Junior on the end. All 3 have the same roll number. I'm not sure about them having the same roll number. Will that change for me as the son of my dad? I think maybe want to address that. I think they're confusing the roll number with the card number, but as it's read, all 3 have the same roll number. Will that change for me as the son of my dad? And I'm not sure if that's what the person's related. It says Marilyn Van, but I think it might be someone else typing that. I'm not sure. And I'm not sure if either one of you want to address that question. It is in
Well,
the
well, Angela, I mean, you I agree with you because all 3 of them cannot have the same number.
exactly, yeah.
A roll number is equivalent to a social security number.
Right, exactly.
That's what they did back there in 1906. It was a roll number. Okay, you look at it as a social security number. So each person had their own roll number. I don't know what she's.
I think they may be on the same enrollment card. For example, my brother's name is Samuel Walton. Well, Junior was used because my dad was Samuel Walton. However, my grandfather is Samuel Walton, as was my great grandfather. There are 4 Samuels in my family. But if you look at the enrollment card of the family, you will see the head of the house, great grandpa Sam. You'll see his wife, Sally, my great grandmother. You'll see my grandfather on the card. To the left of their name are their roll numbers in sequence. Their numbers differ. So I think the person asking that question might be thinking the card number. That's not your roll number. If you're looking at an enrollment card, to the left of their name is their roll number. So I am thinking about that. Now, I see that person's trying to clarify. No, it is shown as the same roll number. I think you'd have to provide maybe an example of that, which we can't necessarily do here. But I'd certainly be willing to chat with you a little bit more about that as well. So I'm not sure we can answer that one right here. El Toro Charles says, I have Freedmen cards and U.S. Census records. The document family lineage to my father. please advise, are U.S. Census records acceptable documentation? Ron, you want to address that? Do they utilize federal census records?
Such as
A census.
census, the
20, let's say
1910,
1920 census, 1930 census, 1940. Is that utilized as something that is considered acceptable?
Yes, but it is a secondary
Wow.
document. You cannot use that as a primary document. Okay. Let's say there's a name Miles. Let's say Miles Davis. Okay. Uh, but you see Miles. There's two ways to spell Miles: Miles, Myles. Okay. Now he may be in a 1910 census as Miles. On the 1920 census, it may be Myles. So you can use that right there. That census, and I have used those censuses like that to show the difference, because that 1910 census will still show if the parents was still living, they'll show the parents of the family. 1920, they just got 10 years older. It's going to show the parents. It may have a different spelling of Miles. All right. So you can show them that. Okay.
But that it's not necessarily considered required. What would you say are the most essential records, Ron? I think that might help
The
clarify.
primary records are your birth, death certificates, marriage license. But with your death certificates, you may have need a secondary source to turn in with your application, such as a census, okay, which are great. They're federal documents.
Right. Okay, thank you. If there aren't, it shows roll number on Dawes listing. Okay. As I said, we'll have to follow up with that. So we're both looking at the same record, and certainly I'll be happy to meet with you to do that. Would it be wise to go into the office to talk to someone? I don't think you can just talk about your case and present it. You present the records. Maybe either you or Eli can address that. You just can't come and try and convince them. You give them the documents and they analyze. Is that correct?
That's correct. Just do your application, submit your application with your documents, with someone that's on that Dawes roll, Creek Freedman roll, and let them scan it in. They're going to scan it in. They're going to take your picture afterwards. But if you're still needing something else, they may not take your picture. They may just say there, well, looks like you may need this. You know, those guys at the window, they're quote unquote experts, or they work at they know a little bit about that genealogy process when it comes to enrolling your when it comes to submitting your application. Okay, so you don't have to. It's been laid out. I mean, by this case, I'll just go to submit your application. That's it.
Can I say something there, Marilyn? Because I do a lot of work with the Citizenship Office. Just because
let me jump in here. Now, I see some people are coming in here under Marilyn Van Click, which is my married name. When I forwarded a few people at the last minute the link that was sent to me, I guess when they registered themselves, or I registered them, that popped up as opposed to how I was registering people before. So,
yeah, I see 3 people with that name, Marilyn. You're correct.
Yes. And before we go, I also want to mention Mrs. Sampson. She's dialed in, so she is here. But sorry, Eli, I'm taking away from your time, so let me pop back out.
No, I just want to say I've done a lot of work with the Citizenship Office. Some of them are my really good friends. If you're missing a document, when you get there and you turn it in and they say, well, you don't have this document, please don't take it personally. Don't, they're just telling you, hey, this is a document that the citizenship board requires. It's not necessarily the employee because they don't make the rules. It's the board and the National Council that makes the rules. And they're usually just following orders. So sometimes when you walk in, as Miguel Vaughn, I don't know if he's on here, would say, a little kindness got him a long way through there and registering a whole bunch of people in his family. So I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you.
Okay, and someone says that Mr. Grayson, I would like to discuss my case with you regarding this citizenship hold. You will have to reach out to Mr. Grayson directly about that.
Angela,
Yes.
yeah, I just want to, because I'm getting ready to go again. I just want to leave them my information, telephone information.
Okay, just
It's
read it to me and I'll type it in the chat, Ron.
oh, okay. I was trying to do that, but
Oh, go ahead. If you're doing it, that's
okay.
fine.
I was trying to. I really, but okay. That's all I have. Unless somebody have some more questions.
Someone did say, Otis Bruner said my two times grandmother, I guess he means great grandmother, is on the roll on my father's side. So will I need death certificates for her, my one times grandfather? I'm assuming you're saying great grandfather and great great grandfather is what you're asking, and who are deceased. I have plenty of census and marriage licenses to help support. And as I'll just answer genealogically, you'll need anything that's going to assist you in proving lineal descent to the person on the DAW's roll or on that DAW's card from whom you descend. So if your great grandfather is on the roll, you don't have to worry about the great great grandfather. But if it is the second times or the great great grandfather, then you'll need death certificates to connect each person to the generation that preceded them. It's lineal descent that you will be proving. And of course, those census records, they're good. They will also be helpful. Amber says, I know that some tribes require CDIB and tribal membership for approval. So is it correct that you don't have to apply for CDIB when you apply for membership in the Creek Nation? Valid question, Ron?
Yes, you don't have to apply for a CDIB card. Just citizenship, and like in the Choctaw and Chickasaw Nation, they require you to apply for a CDIB card. It's not like that with the Creek. You do not have to apply for a citizen. I mean,
Okay.
for CDIB card.
Okay.
Two totally different things.
Okay. Shelley Bates says, my mother, myself, and my daughter, and my granddaughter, 4 people, okay, have had our application in since last year and called Friday to have the applications go forward. Didn't know we would have a picture made free. We had passport pictures taken. Should I go back to the Jinx office in person tomorrow for follow-up? Good question.
Yes. Yeah, if you did not
Yes.
have a picture taken, you can go up there and take a picture or give them that passport photo.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Very good. Okay. And
Angela,
yes.
can I say something?
Yes.
You also don't have to have your picture on your ID. It's up to you. Just kind of remember that. If you don't want to use that in the airport or at a bank or whatever, you don't have to have that photo ID. But if you do, you definitely want the photo on it.
Very good. That makes a lot of sense. Okay. Well, I think we have come to the end of a majority of the questions that we are
Oh, no,
over
we
time.
haven't. No, I have a question. I have my hand up.
I didn't see your hand, Terry.
Well, all right, get it straight now.
Just come on with your question, okay?
Ron, I had a question. It's kind of wild, but I just thought of something as you were talking about this stuff. And one of the things, or one of the records that came to my mind were the proof of airship records. And would they be useful in securing citizenship, or is just something you have to go strictly by that DAW's card?
Okay, the proof of death and airship records are vital. I mean, they still use them. I love them. I really do. So
So do I.
those records are excellent. I mean,
But
it's not necessary if you can have that direct link. Sometimes they're necessary, period.
mhm.
Okay. But they're vital. It's called a proof. Let me try to type this out.
Yes, Ron, you and Terry are talking about a set of records that many beginning researchers may not know what that is. That is a different record set. It's different from DAWs. And it's used in some cases where maybe something isn't clear in the lineage. But where do people locate those proof of death and heirship records? Where are they located?
I have
Okay,
found many on Ancestry. While looking for a DAWS card, if you're familiar with Ancestry and you pop in a name and you go on the side, you get this little window of all the extra documents pertaining to that individual. And the proof of heirship, a Creek Freedmen proof of heirship record will show up. What's extraordinary about it is that I believe the Creek Nation is the only ones where I've seen these.
Because
In the
they're
Chickasaw Nation, Choctaw, Cherokee Indian, just Creek.
yeah.
Eli, you had something to say about that?
Yeah, the proof of death and heirship records are tied to some judgment payments that pertain only to the Creeks. That's why they exist.
Okay.
I will say this, though. Do not forget to look up court records, which are acceptable to the Creek Nation. And so you have something in there where you can't prove a child is the daughter child of somebody, but you find it in a inheritance record or a court record or a judgment record or something like that. If you can get that courthouse to certify you got that record from that office, from that courthouse, they would use those records in the citizenship office. An example, my father went by Elijah and Eli both times. And so I had to get records out of McIntosh County, actually, that showed the heirship of his parents and use Elijah, on and on. And they were able to accept them, but they have to be stamped and certified by that courthouse.
Okay, that's good advice. Thank you for clearing
Excellent.
that up.
Those are excellent records, those court records. I had to go to, I went and got some documents for a guy named Renty. And there was a confusion about, okay, this is spelled this way and this way. But when I went to that courthouse and got some land records, they had both the names, how he spelled it on there. So that was excellent record. That
You know, you guys are making a point, and it's a great one, because I've always thought in the course of the Dawes Commission's work, they use misspelling different spellings as a way to exclude people. And so having to prove the different spellings for people who are essentially illiterate becomes essential for proving your case of lineal descent. And so it just brings in a whole nother element, because most of the cases will not be just black and white, straightforward. You're always going to have some little twists and turns in it in order to get to that point where you can prove you descend from an individual.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I will say, this is really bad when you're dealing with the full bloods of the Creek Nation, because they have those Indian names and they have to pull up what's called the individual Indian money accounts that the federal government has. And in there would be 10 different spellings for the same person.
Wow.
And the citizenship office has to work its way through saying, okay, this makes sense. And a lot of times it's a judgment call that they make, on that.
Wow.
So, but the court records, don't forget that they exist. Also, your church records, your baptism records they use. They also use your school records. Your school, when you're in elementary, junior high, high school, those records that are 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years old at this point, they allow those records too.
Especially in those complicated cases. A final question here, and we're going to have to wrap it up eventually. Wilder wanted to know, is that in the same vein as those who receive payments from the Creek Nation, if we have proof of those payments? And I guess those are some of those per capita payments, and there are some per capita.
Yeah, the 1971 judgment roll, they use that very lightly, but they still go on it and look at it. because behind that record is actually a whole bunch of applications that were filed, including the proof of definitorship forms. So if you usually see a proof of definitorship form, you'll see that person name listed on the 1971 judgment fund, making,
Wow.
collecting for whatever per capita payment that was about.
Mhm. Wow.
So,
That's very helpful. Well, listen, everyone, we're almost out of time. Is Leetta here on the call? I did not want to close without her saying a few words of support or greetings to the group. She is the chief of the Bruner Band. Leetta Osborne, are you out there? I think she
She's
was.
on the phone. She is dialed in. I don't know if you can see someone who dialed in.
I see someone on iPhone. It just says iPhone.
2821.
Okay. If you have, unmute yourself, and we would love to hear from you before we close everything down. And I don't. Okay, I see an iPhone person who dialed in. Let me see if I see others. I'll switch to the gallery and see. But Leetta, if you can hear us, please unmute yourself, and we would love to hear your wonderful voice. And if not, we are really at the end of our meeting. Ms. Van, would you like to have any closing words to the group?
Okay, I just wanted to say that give a thank you for everyone that came out today, and we do not have other virtual calls set up, but we may potentially have some others as this situation unfurls. So we want to encourage everyone that once you get your card, your tribal membership card, get involved.
Yes.
Okay. Get involved in your tribe. Go to different things. Again, use services, go to intertribal council meetings, vote. Freedmen sometimes can, even in small numbers, can be the difference in who becomes a chief, who becomes a tribal councilman. And you know, it's happened before. Um, and again, I want to encourage everyone, support the Descendants of Freedmen Association. Because, you know, we've been out here fighting for you all, fighting for us for more than 20 years. And you know, we do need lobbyists. We need to have we need attorneys all the time. But we're grateful for the support we've had. I see some good folks out there that were working with us a long time ago, and it's good to see you all back on the call. So, but anyway, thank everybody for coming out here. I just got a text in from Samson, and she says she can hear, but she can't get in. She can't unmute. I'm not sure why if she has to be unmuted by you
No, she
or
has to unmute herself, but I'm not sure which person she is here. That was
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, it's the 405-593-2821.
Okay, and that's okay. If I see it, I'll do that. Otherwise, let's see here. I'm looking at all of these images. Well, we have a good group. We have 59 people in the room. We did have about 65 a little bit earlier. So,
Angela, one
yes.
more thing, if I can, quick. I just put in the chat how you can get the access to that proof of detonatorship. You call this number. I put it, well, it's in the chat. Call that number at the Creek Number Realty
Okay,
office.
hit the send arrow. I don't see it in the chat as yet, Ron.
Oh, well, it's typed in. Oh Lord, what's going on here?
While he's doing that, I put two examples of what a proof of airship.
Oh, there are in the chat some examples that Terry has shared, and
Well, the thing is, These what the Creek Nation have, those the ones that has been authenticated, proved, and they went through the whole process. Okay.
Right.
The ones online, oh yeah, that's what it looks like. The excellent right there.
Show
The
them,
ones online, those sometimes have not. There's a paper that they have on those proof of death and airship papers. At the corner right, it'll have a stamp.
Hello.
Can y'all
Okay.
hear
I'm
me?
Hello.
getting a little interference from somebody else's
I think that's
voice.
your girl, Leetta.
This is Leetta.
Okay, hold on one second, Leetta. Let's let Ron finish his statement and then we'll switch over to you.
Okay.
Okay, but
Continue.
that's how when you call that number, someone in your family, your grandfather, they had to die before 1959, on 1959 or before. Those
Oh.
documents that the Creek Nation have right now of those proof of death and airship, if they died before in 1959 or before that, that should be documented there.
Okay.
Okay, it's documented there. But call that place. And now these proof of death and airship, sometimes they can range from 4 pages all the way to 20, 25, maybe 30 pages. I know my great grandfather had probably like 20 pages in his. And those papers do cost, they're $1 a page. Okay.
Hopefully, most people will have a simple case. Let us hope
Yeah,
so.
absolutely. That's all I
Okay.
wanted to say.
Thank you, Ron.
Hey,
Leetta?
y'all, did you still get that number? I don't know.
No, I haven't seen it, Ron, but we've got to move on. I'm going to go over and give Leetta a chance to say something to the group.
Oh, okay.
Hello, everyone. Congratulations. This is a wonderful, wonderful time to be a freedman. Isn't it great? What I would like to say is we are still running in the election in Seminole Nation. If you know anyone that's a Seminole, whether it be by blood or free, tell them to get out and vote. We're voting for change. Sina Yeslitz and for Sheila Harjo for vice. So we really got to get this thing to change so that all of these tribes can get together and we all can come together in a powerful way. Because the Seminoles need to move forward. I can't hear a word out of them. The chief hasn't said anything about this. And I don't even know if he's going to say anything. He has refused to talk on it at this point, but that's okay because he will be speaking sooner or later. But right now, we just need to get everybody out to vote on August the 9th on a Saturday. They can vote in Oklahoma City off of 240. They can also vote in Seminole at the Mission on August the 9th. We need to get as many people out there to vote as possible. So that's one thing I really would love to see everybody share that with your friends, your family that can vote or know anybody that is a Seminole. So we can get this matter settled.
Councilwoman Sampson, is Glorietta Baptist Church in Oklahoma City? Were there
yes,
people
it'll be at Glorietta Baptist Church.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, from 7 to 7. Also at the Mission in Seminole. And then if you live in Seminole and you need to vote and you don't have a ride, call the tribe. They will pick you up and take you down there to vote.
Thank you so much. And it's good to hear a voice from our fellow freedmen from the Seminole Nation. We thank you. That was Leetta Sampson from who is chief of the Bruner Band. And thank you for those warm words. I believe that we are, oh, my pleasure. I believe we are really at the end of this meeting. We've gone a little bit over, but that's okay. It's all been worthwhile. If there aren't any other parting words from anyone, I will stop the recording and close the meeting.